Hello and very warm welcome at Amish Shackle 5858. I am Amish Shackle. Following news have been reported by American, European, Asian, African, Australian news channels and the news agencies. So please, let's go to the headlines.
Tonight, we're following several developing stories as we hear a winter storm disrupts holiday travel for millions, with another storm coming, plus the hunt for a suspect after a mass shooting party. We begin with that winter storm. Thousands of flights canceled as Americans head home after Thanksgiving. In Iowa, a plane slid off a runway while turning to taxi. Dozens of cars and trucks involved in a pileup in Indiana, while Chicago had its snowiest November day on record. And round two is on the way, bringing snow and rain updates. And the step drone attack. It violated international law. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is under scrutiny. Disturbing new allegations about the suspect in the shooting of two National Guard troops in the nation's capital. The Secretary of Homeland Security claims he may have been radicalized after arriving in the U.S. from Afghanistan. Mission to the Middle East and what he sees as the best hope for peace between Israel and the Palestinians. The shocking crash captured on video, a coffee shop destroyed. The 90-year-old driver rushed to the hospital. And we have the receipts. This Black Friday broke records for online shopping, with Cyber Monday still ahead. And America Strong tonight, the baby that just couldn't wait to be born, and a fire captain who waited his whole career for a moment like this.
From ABC News World Headquarters. From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is News Tonight.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us on this Sunday. I'm Lindsay Davis. We begin tonight with a beast of a winter storm.
DHS Secretary Kristi Noem revealing how the Afghan national accused of shooting two National Guardsmen, killing one, was radicalized. Listen.
Well, we believe he was radicalized since he's been here in this country. We do believe it was through connections in his home community and state, and we're going to continue to talk to those who interacted with him, who were his family members, talk to them. So far, we've had some participation, but anyone who has information on this needs to know that we will be coming after you.
I guess this coming as a new report reveals that more than 5,000 Afghan nationals brought into the U.S. after the chaotic withdrawal in 2021 were flagged for national security reasons. Retired Marine Infantry Officer C.J. Douglas saw the Afghanistan withdrawal chaos up close and personal. He helped with the evacuations into Qatar and the evaluations, and co-wrote a report in the aftermath, a briefing that President Biden wouldn't take, and we don't know if he ever read. C.J. Douglas, welcome to the show. Your reaction to the horrific shooting last week.
Morning, Brian. It's always a pleasure to see you. Sorry under these tragic circumstances. I mean, like everybody else, saddened by the events that occurred. Thoughts and prayers go out to the family members affected and all our troops and law enforcement at home and abroad.
So having said that, when you were in Doha and you were talking about the screening process, and we hear the Biden administration say we screen them at multiple levels, including in Doha, what did you find when these Afghans were coming off the cargo planes?
So, Brian, having walked through the process with some Afghan families that I knew personally, it was a rudimentary process at best. And to say they were screened, marginal is the term that I would use. They would go through, they would sit down, they'd give their biometric data, they would have some interview questions, and then that would culminate with the biometric system. That said, if they've never had any interaction with U.S. CERT personnel, they're not going to show up in the biometric system. They then go to a staging area and ultimately then be flown to the United States or to another country if they weren't. They were at the capacity for the United States at that current time. So to say marginal, that's literally marginal. But that's because you're dealing with a country that doesn't have a database like ours. When we say,
yeah, and you also said this. We were dealing with them there in order to not deal with them here. And we seem to have brought our problems home. And what's been brought up to me is that just because someone's working with, let's say, the CIA over there, it doesn't mean they should live on your cul-de-sac here, or they could even handle the transition. There was no proper vetting to see if they could even work their way into American life.
Right, so as they were screened there to work with U.S. personnel to go forth and hunt the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, that isn't screened to be your next door neighbor. Now, that said, there's a number of families that have come here and have thrived with their families and have gone on to be productive members of society. This still goes back to the Biden administration's failure to hold the Taliban to the conditions-based withdrawal. Because, as I've told you previously, I would rather fight them over there than have them here on our shores and have, American citizens have to.
On this Sunday night, the U.S. Defense Secretary on the defensive. The reports that Pete Hegseth ordered all crew members of an alleged Venezuelan drug boat killed.
This rises to the level of a war crime.
How it's now the focus of a bipartisan committee. The U.S. investigation into the shooting of 2 National Guards. What we're learning about the Afghan immigrant suspect.
But I will say, we believe he was radicalized since he's been here in this country.
Plus, hundreds displaced by a Toronto apartment fire as winter weather blasts southern Ontario. And a potential game changer to treating ALS. The Winnipeg scientist from India behind it.
Global National, reporting tonight, Colleen Christie.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. More trouble for the Trump administration this weekend, this time over reports the U.S. Secretary of Defense may have committed a war crime. According to a story by the Washington Post, Pete Hegseth allegedly ordered defense officials to kill all crew members of a boat believed to be smuggling drugs in the Caribbean that was targeted by airstrikes. Survivors of the initial strike were also said to be killed. Well, now a bipartisan effort is underway to investigate those allegations, putting these controversial bombardments by the U.S. under further scrutiny. Candace Cole has the latest from Washington.
Going after survivors in the water, that is clearly not lawful.
That's Senator Mark Kelly on CNN Sunday, sounding off with other lawmakers in Washington after news broke in the Washington Post Friday about an order given by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to U.S. troops to, quote, kill everybody aboard an alleged drug trafficking boat leaving Venezuela on September 2nd. According to the Post, the first airstrike on the boat left 2 survivors, but to carry out Hegseth's order, the Special Operations Commander ordered a second strike, killing 11 people in total. The revelation now prompting a bipartisan investigation into the defense secretary.
But this rises to the level of a war crime, if it's true. Obviously, if that occurred, that would be very serious, and I agree that would be an illegal act.
Hegseth fired back against the report, calling it, quote, fake news.
Hello, you're watching Sky News Today with me, Jane Secker. It's 2 o'clock. These are the headlines. Sir Keir Starmer defends the budget and his Chancellor as Rachel Reeves is accused of misleading the public.
I am proud. I'm proud we scrapped the 2-child limit. I'm proud we're lifting over 500,000 children out of poverty. Proud we raised the national minimum wage again. That is what a Labour government is for.
She has lied and lied and lied again. I think that she put up tax when she didn't need to. She should resign.
Also ahead, we talk to the Labour MP Tulip Siddiq, who's been sentenced to 2 years in prison for a corruption trial in Bangladesh.
I'm apparently being convicted in Bangladesh, and the only reason I know I'm being convicted is because I read it in the newspapers.
Senior figures of West Midlands Police face questions from MPs this hour over their decision to ban Maccabi Tel Aviv fans for a match against Aston Villa. President Zelensky arrives in France as Donald Trump says there's a good chance a peace deal can be made. Flood warnings in Wales with up to a month's worth of rain forecast to fall within 24 hours. And agency workers hired to cover striking Birmingham refuse workers join them on the picket lines. See local radio. Donate now at abc.net.au/gives.
This is DW News live from Berlin. Top US officials search for an endgame to Russia's war in Ukraine. They say the talks with Ukrainian negotiators in Florida were productive, but there's more work to be done to secure a peace deal. A US envoy is expected in Moscow tomorrow. And thousands brave the rain to greet Pope Leo in the mountains above Beirut. The head of the Catholic Church is calling on Lebanon's leaders to promote peace and unity. And more than 1,000 people are now known to have died in floods and swept across Southeast Asia. Rescuers now face the task of bringing critical supplies to survivors.
The Defence Department to be restructured as it struggles with project cost blowouts and delays. A bushfire in Geraldton which destroyed at least one home believed to have been lit deliberately. The medicines regulator issues a safety warning over a link between popular weight loss drugs and suicidal thoughts. And Pope Leo calls for peace in the Middle East on his first trip as pontiff to Lebanon. Hello, welcome to ABC News. I'm Lorna Dunkley. The government has announced what it...
Good evening, I'm Lo Hui Su. Tonight's top stories. The probe into last week's building inferno in Hong Kong narrows to netting that failed to meet standards for resistance to fire. Police confirm deaths above 150 people, with dozens still missing. Some 600 people dead, with the missing also numbering in the hundreds. Indonesia's president promising aid on the ground in Sumatra, with some remote regions reporting no food or aid in days. Gunfire between Myanmar's military and an armed rebel group near the border with Thailand raising concerns in Bangkok. A Thai border troops closing all but one crossing for a week. Australia's defence minister announces the biggest bureaucratic shake-up in decades to ensure money spent delivers, quote, bang for the buck, amid pressures on budget and deadlines.
Africa News. The news.
Spanish authorities have released new footage of the rescue of over 100 migrants in the Canary Islands. Images show members of the Spanish Red Cross helping people, some of them injured, getting to shore. On Sunday morning, the Spanish Maritime Rescue Service recovered a dinky boat carrying 121 people and 4 dead bodies near the Isle of El Hierro. Passengers were men between the ages of 15 and 35. Spanish authorities received a distress call from the boat. It had stopped around 30 kilometers south of the island after running out of food, water and fuel. A rescue vessel and a helicopter were dispatched to the area and the survivors were transferred to the port of La Restinga. 13 people were taken to the hospital, one of them with severe hypothermia. The migrants said they had made an 8-day journey from Jinak Island in the Gambia. They stated they had nationalities from Senegal, Mali, the Gambia and Ivory Coast. Another 2 migrant boats were rescued during the weekend in the Canary Islands, making a total of 524 people saved and 5 dead since Friday.
Congolese
Zimbabwe's Nobel Peace Laureate, Dr. Denis Mukwege, has denounced the ongoing peace process between Kinshasa and M23 rebels aimed at ending the fighting in eastern DRC. In a statement released over the weekend, Mukwege called the Washington and Doha-led initiative illegitimate, precarious, and incapable of guaranteeing lasting peace. Mukwege pointed to what he called the predatory dynamics of foreign actors looking to get their hands on the region's vast mineral resources. He said the proposed peace agreement served foreign geostrategic interests rather than the people of North and South Kivu, who he said are still deprived of their fundamental rights. DRC opposition leaders have called on President Felix Tshisekedi to make the agreement public before signing it, and warned against agreeing to anything that would undermine the sovereignty of the DRC.
Samuel Eto'o was re-elected unopposed as head of the Cameroonian Football Federation. Eto'o's re-election was confirmed at a General Assembly of Fecafoot on Saturday. The country's education ministry, which oversees the sports portfolio, had opposed the exercise and even called for the cancellation of the General Assembly. There were also demonstrations outside the meeting venue, with opponents accusing Eto'o of misconduct. The former Barcelona star has been accused by some of mismanaging Cameroonian football. He has also been blamed for the underperformance of the national team. Opposition to Eto'o's presidency grew after Cameroon failed to qualify for the upcoming World Cup. Police in Rio de Janeiro clashed with Flamengo fans celebrating their Copa Libertadores victory. The euphoric fans took to the streets Sunday following their team's 1-0 triumph over Palmeiras the previous day. The parade ended with police firing rubber bullets and tear gas in an attempt to disperse the mass of boisterous fans. When the players turned the corner, they treat us like criminals. We're just celebrating a title. We don't want to fight with anyone. We're only celebrating. And look at what they do to us. The moment the players' truck turns the curve, they start treating us like criminals. They start shooting at people, with lots of children around. Flamengo took home $24 million and a place in the 2029 Club World Cup. The club could have another celebration in the near future, as they are also close to winning the Brazilian Championship.
And a warm welcome to you. You're watching Daybreak on France 24. These are the headlines. The US president dominates the race for president in Honduras after naming his preference for the post and warning of funding cuts if his choice doesn't make it through. Well, locals tell us what impact Donald Trump's talk has had on their ballot, as early results do put his choice in front. Calling on their president to reject the request and protect the democracy, protesters gather in Israel after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu asks for a pardon on his corruption charges, despite having neither been found guilty or admitted to any wrongdoing. Warnings that knowledge and prevention concerning HIV and AIDS is going backwards, and that funding for such has also been slashed. Organisations say clinics are closing and new infections could start surging. Good to have you with us. Also coming up, lost for 400 years, a painting by
Thank you for watching Amish Shakil 5858. I am Amish Shakil. I hope you will visit again. Have a good life. Bye-bye.